Seattle City Hall. These students and I represent the center school. Our proposal is that we take $2.6 million from the $32.6 million Park Upkeep and Services Fund and $2.9 million from the city's $12.9 million Golf Fund and channel that into the Health and Human Services Public Health Services Fund. This movement is to help all people less fortunate than ourselves. We as a community believe that golf having such an overestimated funding and budget is a gross insult to the people who need these health and human services. This extra $5.5 million will help the Public Health Services Fund cope and grow and help communities all over the city thrive. With me are some students who, even in their young age, have had to utilize these services. Young adults who have had personal experience. You will now hear from them, starting with a voice so often overlooked in this country's eyes.
Hello, my name is Desiree Marie Snazel. I live in West Seattle, and I'm a woman. One of the many women who rely on subsidized services to live a life. And our well-being is more important than golf. Us women desperately need care, especially from the Health and Human Services. It's true that Mayor Ed Murray committed to not cut human services, but has failed in his commitment. Mayor Murray proposed a budget that cuts the 2016 inflation adjustment from 2.3% to just 0.8% on all HSD contracts. This will result in cuts in services in 2016, as well as the lack of enough funding to compensate for the increased minimum wage. This will most definitely cut services in 2016. 1 in every 5 women are raped or sexually assaulted. We live in a world where we walk down the street in fear. The mayor's proposed budget makes resources less accessible for raped, sexually assaulted, or pregnant women. We now run the risk of sleeping on the streets with no food, no home, no access to abortion, and no access to prenatal care. Mayor Murray made a commitment, but in his failure, the decision falls to you. I know that you and your fellow members do not want to be known for falling short on the needs of the city. You can avoid this by raising the funding for health and human services. We are in a state of emergency. Incremental advancements in a few service areas are not enough in a time of emergency. We must have an equal response. Do not abandon the women of Seattle. Our health is more important than the funding of golf.
Hi, my name is Connor Brown. I live in the Delridge corridor. I'm here to advocate for the reallocation of $5.5 million from the city's golf and park upkeep budgets into the Health and Human Services budget. My family and I have lived under the poverty line for the last decade. My father's a cook and my mother works in a supermarket deli before making mostly under the table wage. I spent 6 months in unstable housing just outside the city limits, and I received treatment for mental illness through what the city could provide for me, which was outpatient care through the subsidized Nautilus clinic. Both my parents waited 6 months to a year to be approved for assistance from the city and the state, both with the unstable housing and basic medical care. My dad and I were serviced by public clinics and state funds for depression and psych treatment, as well as physical injuries, and at our current income, it seems unlikely that either of my parents will retire before the age of 70. And right now, I am in a best-case scenario, and the fact that we, as a family unit, are able to be provided care we would not be able to afford is incredibly lucky. But even in the best-case scenario, we would be financially devastated if we ever developed life-threatening illness or if an accident happened outside our insurance. If we dip it all below, we attain a debt that we most likely will never pay. And the Health and Human Services budget is dwarfed by frivolous and problematic expenses that don't benefit the welfare of Seattle citizens, like the millions of dollars going into keeping the city's golf courses overfunded. And for a massive heft of the city's population who requires assistance, too many people are on the edge of financial collapse. A safety net for all citizens, especially women, LGBTQ people, people in poverty, and people in color needs to be as wide as possible. For the people that use these services, marginalized racial, sexual, social, and economic classes disproportionately make up people inside the current safety net. And stability in Health and Human Services is one of the most important parts of creating equality and equity for all Seattleites. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.